Hello everyone, and thank you for purchasing the Split Screen Vertical Scroll Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to actually use it. So if you haven't installed it yet, please refer to the separate video included in the package, and you also have access to a PDF with instructions. So to get started, head over to your theme editor, navigate to the page you want to add the section to, then click over here on Add Section, and search for the section you just installed. There you go. Now, we have a variety of different types of blocks that you can add over here on the left. We have a section title, we have section block, we have a button, and then we have media, images or video. And we also have an option for subtitle if you'd like. You can place that right up here if you like. And then you have options to add in more media items. So let's get started first with the images, where you can actually add an image or a video. So if we start with an image, we can select here. So we have one image right over there. You can have an option to add in a video. So for instance, we'll get to that in the next one. Over here, you can add in an MP4 video. And then you have settings here for autoplay, loop, and show controls of the video itself. Let's do that in the next video. So here, if we want a video, we would select video. And as you can see, you have the default YouTube, so you can put in any YouTube video that you'd like. Or you can select an MP4 video that you upload to Shopify itself. So just in this example, we have, for instance, this video, and we can put it right over there. You have an option to have it autoplay the video and then loop, so it'll just continue on playing. And you can also show the controls of the video when you hover over. But let's just keep this right now on images, and we'll select the next image, like that, and then we'll add one more. There we go. Next, let's add some text, so subtitle, our activewear. Now, keep in mind, there is an option here that you can select the type of heading that you want. We have it defaulted to H2. There are two different benefits for selecting the proper heading here. One is for SEO, as search engines do rank or give hierarchy. There is hierarchy for headings on the page itself. So the higher the number, or the lower the number, let's say H1, is a very important piece of text. Usually that's reserved for page titles, and you only want to have just one of them on each page. But then sections of different parts, headings of different sections on your page should also have, heading 2, heading 3. We usually have heading 1. So you can just select that and set the proper one. And the other benefit is that you would inherit your theme's predefined styles for these types of headings. So usually heading 3, you could see that it's smaller, maybe sometimes it's a different font or a different color. So that could save you some time in setting up the section. But in any case, you have an option here to set up the fonts however you want. So you have custom font option. As you can see, it updates here just like that. If you do select custom font, then you have here Shopify's long list of fonts that they provide. Or if you have a manually installed font with CSS, you can take the CSS code and you can put it right into there. It's a little bit more for advanced users. Then we have an option here to set the font weight. So right now it's defaulting to bold. That's how my theme is. But if I want it to be regular and not bold, then we can do that. You can set the color of the font. Next, we have title font size, line height, and letter spacing. If it's set to 0, then it will inherit the size from your theme. Otherwise, you can go in and you can set up whatever size you want. Line height for titles, it's not as important because usually titles are shorter. But if it does go into 2 lines, then you can set up the line height to be different. And then letter spacing, you have an option to add in more spacing for the lettering between each letter. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. So sometimes 53 would be very big on mobile. So as you can see here, we can adjust that to whatever size we want. Same thing with letter spacing and line height. And we have margin. So we have margin top and bottom. So that's the space above and below. So we can have more space below the title and above it. But we can just keep that just like that. And then we have the margin top and bottom for mobile as well. Next, we have, let's do the subtitle here. So subtitle, we can do our collections, for instance. And here you notice we have it defaulted to H4. And then these are the same as you're familiar with. Let's take this color but make it a little bit lighter. Like that. We can keep the font size, but let's give it some more letter spacing. Like that. Maybe make it bold. No, let's keep it regular. All right. And same thing here, we have margins for top and bottom. So we can lower that a little bit if we want a little bit closer, and so on. Next, we have the text block, so that right over here. We don't have to edit this right now. We can just keep this here, but you can add in whatever you'd like. Set the custom font. So let's use this as well. Here, as you can see, we have it set to paragraph. But of course, you can select anything you'd like. You can also add, make certain parts bold, italicized, or add links. Font size, we can adjust the font size. We can adjust the letter spacing. And here we can see the line height is more substantial. Like you can actually see the differences here. Let's give this a little bit bigger font size, just like that. All right. And we have those same settings for styling. Now I just want to go back to the title, and I want to reduce the margin bottom here just a little bit. There we go. All right. Next, and lastly, we have a button. So we can do shop now, for instance, and then select where we want the link to go. We can choose to have it open up a new tab or not. Usually we won't need that, but you have the option to do that. Let's put in this font yet again. We can make this one bold. And we have here, we can add in a border, so it depends on the type of styling you want. If we add in, let's say 2, we don't see that don't see that yet. I'll show that to you in a minute. Border radius, so we can make the buttons round, pill shaped. Let's keep it like that. We can adjust the width of the button. Horizontal padding, so that's a space within. So we can increase that. But this is actually a play between the maximum width and the length of the text. So if we have padding very low and then the width is very low, So you can see there's not very much padding there. We can add in more padding like that and increase the width a little bit. As you can see, that's if we wanted a smaller button, we could do that. Otherwise, if it's a really wide button, then the padding isn't as important unless the text inside is very long. And we have vertical padding, so that's a space above and below, so we can make that much bigger, as you can see. And then we have margin top, margin bottom. Margin bottom isn't so important. Can just keep that at 0 actually. And then we can adjust the font size and the letter spacing. And we have those same settings for the mobile. Now for button colors, we have the option here to set up the color. So we can do, let's do, here to see the border color. So let's do, if we're doing a black border and a white background and a dark, so we have that type of button, for instance. And then when we adjust the border width, you can see that there's a difference there. And then we have the hover option. So you see as we hover over here, you can adjust those colors the same, just like that. And we have an option to add in another button. So if we do add another button, we can do learn more, for instance, like that. And we have custom font and everything the same. There's the others. And here you have an option at the very, all these are the same settings as this first one. But here, well, for instance, if we want to do, let's say, just a regular button with no background. So let's clear that out, make this black text, no button, and then no hover. See, so we do that. Actually, we can do hover text color, keep that black. See, or maybe make it a little bit lighter, like that, as you can see. We can adjust the space between them, or instead of side by side, we can stack the buttons, just like that. And then lower the margin between them, make it a little bit smaller, just like that. And then as you can see, the alignment isn't perfect, and that's because we have to set up the maximum width, which is a little bit different than the first one. So usually I would recommend to have them the same size. And there you go. And actually, just to make this look a little bit nicer, let's make this that and black. There we go. All right, so we added in all the content. Now we can go into some further styling. So going back here and clicking on the main section settings, then we have an option for section width. So as you can see, we are constraining the width of the section to this value here. So we can make it wider. We can make it much smaller. However we want. Smaller obviously doesn't work as well. So we could do something like that. But we can also make it full width. Now full width, you only really see that when you add in a background color. So if we add in background color and we have this at regular, as you can see, the background color only gets to the very edge, like so. But if we set full width, the background color goes all the way to the edge, but the content is still constrained by the maximum width, as you can see. Now if we click on real full width, then the images go all the way, the content goes all the way to the edges of the page, which sometimes is preferable for many website designs. So we can keep it like that. We'll keep that like that for now. Moving on. So we have section margin top, margin bottom, and padding. So margin top is the space above the section, as you can see. You can increase that and it gives more space there. And margin bottom, more space below. Horizontal padding. So if we add in padding, as you can see, we can still add in some padding that will give some space in between on both sides. And padding at the top and bottom. Sorry, that's padding bottom, padding top, and we can see that there's more space there. And the padding bottom that I added is right over here. So we can put that back to 0. And we have those same margins and padding settings for mobile version. Next, we have media width. So we can adjust the size of these images. Right now it's set to 50%. We can make this much bigger, for instance, something like that. We can move it to the left instead of to the right. And actually, when it's left, we can see this more. If we want more space between the image and the text, we can just increase that right over there. All right. Media dimensions. So right now we have it in original, and the images that we put in are landscape, but we can get these images cropped if you don't have them cropped to your liking ahead of time. So landscape obviously will be the same. Portrait. As you can see, it makes a portrait image. It does crop out the image, especially with this, because they're landscapes, so it crops it out. So it's not really suggested, especially when the images are very big. Or square. It still does some cropping, but you get the idea. And again, it really does depend on the image that you're using. But for instance, square here does work a little bit nicer, but we'll keep this on original for now. You can add corner radiuses for the images. Usually doesn't look as nice if we're using full screen and spacing, but for instance, if we're removing that and removing the background color, then you can see we can get a nice look like that, and then we can adjust the space between the media elements that, so you have a really nice looking slider. Then we have the same settings for mobile, but on mobile, we're not going to get the side by side because obviously we don't have room. So it automatically becomes a slideshow where you can slide between the images. Right now it's set to 100%, but we can make them smaller if we'd like. And we can put the images above the text, below the text. We can even hide them if we want on mobile. We can have the image, the text hover over the image. That really does depend if we want, depending on the colors and the image, but you have that option to do so. And then you have, it also depends on the length of the text, as you can see, top, bottom, or center. So it's a little bit more tricky. Usually we would recommend you using just top. Next, we have text area styling. So this whole text area. So we have the vertical position as center. As you can see, when we're scrolling, it pauses in the center of the page while you're scrolling through all of the images. But we can have it at the top. So if we're scrolling down the page, it stops at the top. Now you'll see that it's being cut off because we have a static, a sticky header over here. So to avoid that, we would just add in more padding. And then as you can see, just like that. And then we have it stuck in the right spot that we want. Or we can select it to be in the bottom. So as you can see, we're scrolling, we have images, and then this pops up and sticks to the very bottom. but most probably it's nicest when it's in the center. And then you do that, the two paddings just to go. Next, you have padding left and right, so you can adjust even more space here if you want. And then we have the same settings, padding and all that alignment and things for the mobile. Now we have carousel settings, which is for the mobile. So we have autoplay. So every 4 seconds, the image will change. We can have animations either sliding or fading. We can choose to have arrows or dots. You see the dots are right over here. And if we are using dots, we do have an option here to select the color of the dots. And the margins, we'll get here since it's already there. We have top margin. Oh, sorry. And we have an option to set small, medium, or large for those dots. Now, if we have this set at arrows, then we have an option to either upload our own arrows that you have, or you can change the color of the arrow itself. So we can do that just so it stands out like that, and you can see the difference like so. And this will be aligning properly once we load the things in. So those are all the settings. Now you have a really stylish way of displaying images. Again, if we go back up here and we do wheel full width, the images do get bigger, and then depending on the size of the screen and how many images you have, you can really showcase a lot of images along with the text and an image. So that's it. Thank you again for purchasing the section. If you have any questions or any issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on our support page. We'll be happy to help. Have a great day.